All right, I'm going to go ahead and lower everybody's hand. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for joining the webinar. I'm Scott Sullivan from Notes Code, and this is our continuing series of webinars. Today, our subject is how to manage email signature compliance and branding in your corporate emails. I do have a few slides that I'll discuss, a few topics that I want to bring up, and then I've invited Crossware from New Zealand to demonstrate a tool they have that can help with solving some of the issues that I'll bring up here in my slideshow. All right. Hopefully my slide will advance here. It's working on it. There we go. Well, what is email compliance? Well, in a perfect world, this means that all signatures look the same. We have the same logo size, the same layout for all of our contact information. Our disclaimers are the same, but unfortunately we have to deal with countries or regions regulations. For example, in European Union, they have to have additional disclaimers, and it can vary by country. Also, we have industry regulations, for example, in the healthcare industry, the insurance, defense, or if you're a manufacturer of arms or components that make up arms, you do have to have ability to have certain types of disclaimers sent. And then we also have the issue of we have different notes clients out there. Some use rich text, some use HTML, different levels of user skill sets to be able to do this. I know there are a few homegrown applications out there in the notes world, but it still requires user interaction. So sometimes not the ideal solution. And ultimately, in the end, there are some limitations to that. One of the major factors that I do hear people complain about is everybody likes to be cute and put in a smiley face, put links into their children's school fundraisers, etc. So when it comes to compliance, we can understand why legal department gets a little upset, how marketing can get upset because the logos aren't right. They might look grainy, they might be too big, they might be too large. We might have, again, smiley faces on there, so disrupting our branding. So there are some issues out there to take care of in terms of having our email signatures be compliant. Obviously, we have, for those of you who are notes administrators, you understand policies. In my opinion, it's an okay start. This means that, hey, we have some limited control over the whole signature or maybe just the disclaimer. But it's really not ideal for conditional disclaimers. For example, if you're a company that deals with the Defense Department, if you have emails that go to certain contractors, then you might have to have additional disclaimers on there. As it stands in Notes now, we have to rely on the user to do that. There are some companies that want to have conditional formatting. For example, I have a friend who's a senior notes admin for an advertising agency, and they have 3 or 4 group or company names that they use, and so they need to have signatures made up for each one of those companies, along with including logos. So sometimes it can be kind of cumbersome and very challenging to have emails that can meet the compliance and to have policies meet those needs. So we can see our regular policies is just an example. You can put in disclaimer text, but there's really not a whole lot more that we can do to control the signature. It's very limited in its nature in terms of what the policy can do. It can generate the proper disclaimers down at the bottom of an email. That's true. But again, if you're really looking to have something like this signature, you might be able to do this properly using just the built-in notes tools. But what if your real goal was to have a nice signature like this, but the disclaimer to only appear in new emails and the banner advertisement that your marketing department wanted included changes or is only based on the fact that you're in a sales department or a sales group. So these are some of the issues that we come up against. And also, if we look at this, we can see that there's probably at least 2 or 3 different departments that could be involved in creating this signature. So obviously, legal department would handle the disclaimer, exactly what we want in that. Wouldn't it be nice if we could give control to the legal department to edit that anytime they wanted to? Also for the sales group, let's say they wanted, they have 6 new cameras that they're trying to market, and they have 6 different sales groups to handle that. How would they make sure that each group has the right banner, the right marketing message going out? So you could involve marketing. Wouldn't that be nice to have them to have the ability to take control of that segment of the signature? And then, of course, you have maybe management that would say, hey, I want our emails laid out with the name on top, the logo, and then the title underneath, and then the phone number and a web address. So you can see it kind of gets very tricky to, A, have compliance in an email address or in our email signatures, and then also manage our branding and potentially take advantage of marketing opportunities. So, yep, we can handle the disclaimers with policies, but like I said, it's an okay start. But really, when it comes down to it in real life, many situations just aren't able to be resolved with policies. Now, I mentioned invited crosswear, and this is just an example of their signature. They actually practice what they preach. They have a layout that they follow, and then they also use it to integrate their marketing efforts. You can see here they have a Facebook interface, and they're running a promotion for people who sign on to their Facebook, and potentially you could win a conference pass for Lotus Sphere. So again, they're taking advantage of their tool to make sure that A, you know the brand, it's laid out right, and the disclaimers are set properly. So that leads us into what our demonstration is going to be from Crosswear Mail Signature to show you. Again, I've invited them to show you what their tool can do in terms of getting a signature prepared and how fast they can actually get it done for you so that you actually have your entire company in compliance. Our presenter will be Paul Graham, and we do have a technical presenter. If there's anyone that wants to ask very deep technical questions, David Spence will handle that. I do appreciate them agreeing to come and present with me today. They are from New Zealand, so they got up awfully early tomorrow morning, which is really cool about time zones, I guess. They're at 7 o'clock in the morning, their time, Thursday morning. So I'm going to turn the time over to them. Also, if you do have questions during the presentation, if you'll just raise your hand, I will pause. I'll interrupt Paul and then unmute your mic so you can ask questions. Or if you want to text questions into me, that will be fine as well. So feel free to ask questions at any time during their demonstration, and or if you want to save it until after the demonstration, that is fine as well. Okay, I'm going to change presenters now and turn the time over to Paul Graham. And again, Paul, thank you very much for getting up awfully early to join us for this webinar.
That's okay, and thanks everyone for attending. It looks like we have almost 20 people on the line, so that's great. So I'll just change my screen, and hopefully you can all see this.
Yes, I can see your screen, Paul.
Great. So what we're going to do is just show how easy it is to create an email signature using Crosswear Mail Signature. I believe that all good software, you should be able to demonstrate it in about 3 or 4 minutes. So that's the aim of the webinar today, just to prove to you how easy and powerful our tool is, and how that you can control all of your company's email signatures regardless of what kind of device they're using. So if you've got users with Lotus Notes, users using Domino Web Access iNotes, the iPhone, an iPad even, Blackberries, our tool can actually handle all of those scenarios. So what I'll do is I'll just do a quick demonstration for you and just show you creating an email. If I send an email to myself, you'll notice that there is no signature actually showing in the email. Now, if I send this email, you'll see the version that comes through to my inbox actually has a signature appended. So the reason our tool is so powerful is that we've implemented it all server-side. So in the same way that an antivirus product intercepts emails as they're being passed through mail.box, we do exactly the same thing and insert the signature. One major advantage of our tool is if you reply with history, you'll see that the second email I've got actually have two signatures and they're both inserted in the correct place. So quite often server-side disclaimer management tools, including the disclaimer that's bundled with Lotus Domino, everything appears on the bottom, so you just end up with a real mess of disclaimers at the footer of the email. So our tool actually detects the correct place and inserts the signature in the correct place. And the signatures can include things like graphics, it can include hyperlinks. You can see there we've got an example with an animated GIF. And you can support fonts, colors, and so on. So just to show you how easy it is to create one of these, I'll actually show you the Crossware signature. And you'll see that there are some advanced options, but they're really for power users. But to do a basic signature, you would just select that you're applying the signature to a group, that being a Domino address book group. You would select the name of the group. So if I put this into edit mode, you'll see that it provides a drop-down list of all the available groups in the directory. You can put a description just to identify what this disclaimer is for. And then you'll see below we've got two blue lines, and between those is just a standard rich text field. And you can basically just put in whatever you like. So you can put in images, you can put text of different styles and fonts. The only thing to be careful of is obviously you've got to make sure that the recipient's computer has the same font. So you're better off to stick to fairly standard fonts like Arial, things like that. So that's our example, and you'll see that my first name and last name is actually a merge field. So the information that's displayed in those fields actually comes from a lookup. So if I show you those, for example, the first name, it's a simple lookup that goes to the names NSF, i.e. the Domino directory, goes to the $user view and looks up the from field from the email and retrieves the value of the first name field. So this is entirely flexible. So we supply the software out of the box to work with the standard Domino directory. But if you've got perhaps your own corporate directory, if you've got databases with marketing information, you can connect the tool up to those, do your lookup in the system, and actually retrieve whatever value you might want to pull back. There is also support for LDAP as well. So if your organization's using LDAP, we support that too. Now, what I'm going to do for you is just create a very, very quick signature so you can see how powerful the tool is. So I'm going to create this for a group, but instead of putting a group name in, I'm actually going to put in my username. So it is possible to actually create a signature that applies to a specific user. If you click on just on the field description here, you can see that we also support wildcards. So if you're wanting different signatures to go on different organization units within the business, you can use wildcards. So the first thing I probably want to do is import a graphic. So I can just do create a picture, and I've got one sitting on my desktop, which is happens to be a JPEG. And there we go. There's our graphic. So we're doing one here for a company called Drummond Brewing. You might want some text under that, so probably the first thing you'd want to do is add in the user's first name and last name. So we just press the button and have a drop-down list of all the available signatures. So we've got first name, and put a space in, and last name, and then probably job title. Then we might want to put in the address. So if this was stored in the Domino directory, we could pull this from the Domino directory, but in this case, we're going to type in the address because everybody works in the same location. So it's 500 King Street, North. And this is actually in Canada, so we've got a Canadian zip code. Okay. And then below that, we'd probably want to put in the telephone number. And again, we can pull this from the Domino directory. And then below that, we probably want the fax number. Now, there is only one fax number for the office. So in this case, there's no point doing a lookup, so we'll just type the fax number straight in. So that one would be 519-574-1147. We could put the email address in, but that seems slightly pointless, but okay, we can do it. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to add two hotspots. The first one is going to be for the website. So it's going to actually say visit Drummond Brewing on Facebook. Okay, so the company hasn't got a website, but it's got a Facebook site. So I've got the URL for the site here. We'll just take that. And then if we just go back, we can say create hotspot link, and then paste in the URL, and that should work. So there we go, we've got a URL there, and we can also do a hotspot for the email address. So you'll see what I'm able to do here is actually put a mail to link in, but then the link is actually a lookup. Okay, so now the fun starts. You can actually start putting in your fonts. So we might decide to make all of these, say, Arial. And Arial 9, bold. And then we might actually start putting some specific colors on some of the text. So we might want to make this one red. And we might want to make that text there black. And this one here might be grey. And we might want to actually underline it. There we go, we've created a signature in a few minutes. Now there's some tools built into the software, so there's actually a send test email tool. So if I just do a quick save and do a send a test email. Now there's various things here. You can actually send it to yourself, you can send it to other users just to see how it's working, but in this case I'll just send to myself. And it sent me a test email. And if I go to my inbox, there we go, configuration test. And there's our signature, and it's been populated with the telephone number, fax number, an email address that's a hyperlink that works as a mail through to Paul at Crossware, a link to our Facebook page. So the next step, now that we've saved it, I'll go to my mail client and actually do a test email, and you should see that signature now taking effect. So
Paul, when you're done with this test, we do have a question.
sure. Yep, so I'll send my email now. And there we go, test email including new signature. And when we open it, there we go. So the signature comes through, lookup's all included, and we see if we do a mouse over, that would create a new email. And if we click on the Facebook page, it opens up Drummond Brewing on Facebook.
Okay, great. Mike Smith has a question for you.
Sure.
Mike, your mic has been, sorry about the pun there. You're now unmuted.
Very funny, Scott. I was wondering, with these signature pages, we have some people in our organization that use Skype, and I might like to have at the bottom of the signature something that says Skype address colon and their Skype address, but I don't want it to say Skype and then have it be blank if they don't actually have such a thing. Is there a way that could be conditional?
Yeah, so we can support basically like formulas. So if you're familiar with doing a simple app formula, you would just do an if statement and basically do the lookup for Skype, and then have a second formula that basically evaluates that and says, well, if it's blank, show nothing. If it isn't, insert a carriage return, insert the word Skype colon, and then the hyperlink.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, there is actually an example. So David will actually show you that.
Okay. We have some examples for phone and mobile phone and fax. So here is a notes formula lookup. So first of all, it evaluates the fax lookup, inserts that into a notes formula, and then evaluates the formula. So you can see if the variable SPR fax returns nothing, it doesn't output anything. But if it does return a value, it then outputs the fax number with the F colon. So it works in a very similar way to this lookup. So that we have already then built into the software. So you can just configure new ones to do exactly the same message. You look up your Skype address, and if it's empty, you don't output anything. I'll show it output your Skype address.
That looks very straightforward.
Yep.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Richard. Richard, go ahead.
Yes, how does it work with encrypt email and sign-in email? It will go out, or you're going to have to, the user will get that the email has been tampered or modified by somebody on the way.
Encrypted email is encrypted before it hits the server, so unfortunately we're not able to deal with encrypted email because the user doesn't want that to be tampered with by anybody. So, but with signed email, there is an option on the configuration document on the advanced section to remove the signature if you wanted to. If there is a signature and you don't set this option, then it will leave the email alone.
Okay, good. One other question. Is it possible to have different disclaimer if the email is sent to internal users than to external internet users?
Yes, it is. There is a feature, an advanced feature called subsignatures.
And I can actually show you just the configuration screen. So it actually has an option on here that says type, and you've got various drop-downs so you can actually control who gets what. So quite often we get organizations that say we want a disclaimer on all of our emails, but we don't want the logo to appear on the internal ones. So in that case, they create two of these and have one that's applicable for internal, one that's applicable to external. The only thing to be careful of is if it's an email that's going to both internal and external recipients, it will be treated as an external email.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you.
All right.
No problem.
Thank you, Richard. Great questions. We also have a question from Mike Williams. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I was wondering, what about a situation where somebody may be a part of, say, an IT group and a sales group, and it just depends on what they're sending out, that they may have different signatures?
There are a couple of different methods of dealing with alternate signatures. You can set a field in the email before it's been sent to specify a particular signature that you would like. So therefore, if it's the odd email that would be sent, you could add, say, an action to this user's Notes client to say, I'm sending as a sales user now, and it would then hard code the signature to be used into the email before being sent, and then the software will pick up that field in the email and append that signature instead of the default one. An alternative would be to have use subsignatures again. One of the options of subsignatures is it can scan the recipient's field, and if the recipients are part of a particular domain, it would then add that signature, subsignature, to the email rather than a default one. And therefore, if it's acting as a sales user, when they're acting as a sales user, it's always to a particular domain. You can have conditional subsignatures depending on which domains are being sent to.
Okay.
You have another question, Mike?
No, that was it.
Okay, perfect. Good question. Thank you very much. The other Mike, did you have additional questions? No? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I did. I was wondering how it worked if I was sending my email from my iPhone, which I use all the time with Lotus Traveler.
With the iPhone and Lotus Traveler, the emails are processed in an identical fashion as if they're coming from your Notes client. As they pass through a server that has the software installed on it, the application sees the email, scans the body field either as a rich text or a MIME field, and appends the signature just the same as if it's come from your Notes client. The only requirement is that the email from the Traveler server, if it's not the same as your mail server, needs to pass through a server that has the application installed on it. So you could install on multiple servers the same configuration, or you could route that email through a server that has the software installed.
I've just turned my iPhone on and I've just done an email. So if you watch the screen, you'll see it come through.
Okay. I guess that sort of begs the second question of, does this product need to be installed on all of my mail servers or just some, or how do you recommend that it be deployed?
It depends on your requirements. Some people only install it on the SMTP gateways because they only want external emails to be processed. But if you want all internal emails to have a signature, i.e. even just first name, last name and position, then it would need to go on all the mail servers. The only requirement is that if an email needs a signature, it's got to pass through a server with the software installed on it. So if you wanted users on the same mail server to have signatures when they're sending to other users on the same mail server, then it would need to be installed on that mail server.
So there's the example I just sent from my iPhone.
Right.
And yeah, it looks no different.
Okay, I understand. Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect. One thing I want to just bring up here as well, everyone, is you'll notice that they changed the signature, and the user, in this case Paul, did not have to do anything. We're not relying on the user to actually interact or push a button or say, okay. It just happens. So I see that as a huge advantage to anyone who's a Notes administrator dealing with the fact you're trying to get new signatures rolled out. If you have a new logo, using the crossword tool, you make the change and it's done. I mean,
Yeah, another thing, Scott, we also give a special server command, so you can actually disable existing standard Lotus Notes email signatures as well. So basically you can just type in a server command with a group name, and it will disable all the existing signatures for that group.
Even better.
So that takes away the headache of having two signatures appear on each email.
Excellent. Okay, we got a question. Dennis, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dennis. Did you have a question? I guess not. Maybe actually accidentally hit the question button. Are there any additional questions? If you have a question, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a question. Vincent, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm the kind of guy that likes to put the little smiley face on my signature.
You're fired.
And yeah. So I appreciate this server force thing that you're trying to put on me. Does this disable or does it have any impact on the existing client append signature functionality?
No. So your existing client append signature functionality would still work. So if I actually enabled it on my client now, it would insert it basically below the email that I've typed. So it would just work as normal, and then our signature would appear below that.
Okay, so I still have a way to put my smiley face on there as a user.
You can still put your smiley face on.
Okay, that was my question. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Vincent. Good questions. All right. Well, I appreciate all the questions. Paul, I'm not sure if you finished doing the demo or not. We kind of got interrupted there with a lot of questions, and that's great.
Yeah, no, we're finished. I guess if people have any further questions, if they can perhaps send them through to you, Scott, and we can try and respond. Yep, we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and, if there's no additional questions, I'll switch over the screen so that you can actually see some emails for them. I'll also send this out in a, excuse me one second here while I just switch the applications here. So you can see their website is www.crossware.co.nz for New Zealand, of course. And you can send an email either to Paul at crossware.co, or you can send an email to me if you have questions. And we'll go from there. And the other thing, Scott, if you go to our website, you can actually download a trial version. Excellent. And that's a two-week trial. Give it a go. All right, perfect. Well, Paul and David, thank you so much for getting up so early and joining us for the webinar. Last call for any questions. If not, again, appreciate everyone for joining us for the webinar. And if you do have follow-up questions, please send them on to me, and we'll get them through to you. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you. Thank you.